You're listening to an Airwave Media Podcast.
Nathan, you have a big trip coming up just around the corner, and I hear you're going to Spain, France, Germany, touring Europe this summer.
Yes, I am. And instead of settling for old, worn-out luggage, I'm upgrading to something that feels so first class.
And let me guess, you're shopping at Quince, aren't you?
You know it. Quince has these amazing lightweight European linen styles starting at just $30 for when I'm sipping bubbly in Paris.
I am all about their premium luggage options. Quince has stylish, durable bags and totes that carry everything I need. And the best part, all their items are 50 to 80% less than similar brands. Like, how is that even possible?
They partner directly with top factories to cut out the middleman, and they pass the savings straight to us. Plus, Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices.
So for your next trip, you can not only feel good about your purchase, but you can look like $1 million without spending, how do you say, beaucoup?
Oh, look at that French. So treat yourself to the upgrade you deserve from Quince. Go to quince.com/queenspod for 365 days returns plus free shipping on your order.
That's quince.com/queenspod to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/queenspod.
Merci, mon ami.
Oui, oui.
Hi, I'm Rena.
And I'm Sarah, and we host Biopic, a podcast story.
Katie and Nathan want us to warn you. They use strong language on the show. If you dislike cursing, you might not enjoy this.
But if you do like cursing and strong language, you're in the right place.
We also like cursing and strong language on our show, Biopic, a podcast story, where we dissect the good, bad, ugly, and stupid about biographical films.
We're just two broads who like to praise and mock this specific genre of filmmaking.
Now enjoy this episode of Queens.
Hi, this is Katie.
And this is Nathan.
And you're listening to Queen's Podcast, the show about women in history.
Katie, I'm so excited for today's episode.
It's so nice to see your beautiful face, and it's probably unsurprising that we've got a lot of requests for this chick.
That's an understatement. Any of the chicks in the chicken coop of this historical time period are very famous.
Our audience loves a Tudor moment, and we love to give it to you. So who are we talking about today, Nathan?
Oh, none other than Catherine Parr, the final of Henry VIII's wives.
Yes. So she was the sixth wife of Henry VIII, and pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I am enjoying learning about her. But before we get into that, why don't we do a Patreon shout out?
Yes.
All right. So thank you so much to Patreon supporters Becky, Ivy, Miranda, and Diane. I hope I'm saying that right. Diane. I like it.
Me too. Also, shout out to Dana, Beth, and Faith.
Yes. And thank you to all our Patreon supporters at every level. And hey, anybody listening, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Yes.
And Nathan, this drink is gorgeous. I will definitely share pictures of it on our Instagram, but tell us what we're drinking in honor of Catherine Parr.
Yes. Well, we have to stick with the rose theme because of the Tudor rose, and we've done it quite a bit whenever we're talking about anybody Tudor related. So today we did the Rosé Erde. And
Rosé Erde.
yeah, it's a very complicated drink. Also, just a reminder that on Patreon, we do have those up full frizzled. That means free. So you can go and watch the video on how to make it. But it is 2 ounces of rosé, 1 ounce of rum, half an ounce of pomegranate liqueur, a little bit of rose water. In the video, I added a little too much. So you didn't see in the video at the end of me actually taste it because I went, bah! Like right after I tasted it. So go light on the rose water.
What is rose water? Is it an alcohol or is it just like a mixer?
It can be an alcohol or it can be just actual water. I actually found it at HEB where it was alcoholic. So it did have alcohol in it and it's brewed with roses. So it does take on a very floral flavor, so be very light with that. And then I squeezed a little bit of lime in there, and you got your gorgeous drink.
This is beautiful. I'm definitely going to make a post dedicated just to, because Nathan did like a little photo shoot of the drink yesterday and sent me, like, we'll have to post how you made the strawberry look like little roses.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I forgot too. You add in a little club soda at the end of that. And plus, I also did take some strawberries and I Googled it on how to cut them to look like little rose petals. And I had so much fun doing that.
I know. Me and my husband were out at dinner, and I try not to spend too much time on my phone when I'm on date night, but I was just like, look at this adorable, oh my God, he turned the strawberries into roses. Like,
so I think it's a
fun.
very fitting drink for a very wonderful woman that we're going to cover today.
So let's get into her life.
Yes!
As Catherine Parr was born in 1512. When in 1512? That's a very good question. But probably in either July or August. So she could be a Leo. You know, we love Leos. But she could also be, what else is in July and August? A Cancer?
July is Cancer, yes. I'm drawing a blank.
That's okay.
Hi.
Y'all let us know if you get a vibe for her, if you think she fits with a certain sign in July or August, y'all let us know. We don't actually know when she was born, but in the summer. She's a summer's child.
She's a sweet summer child.
Yes.
Catherine Parr was not born into royalty, but her family is not exactly slumming it either.
Right.
Her dad's name was Thomas Parr, and he was a courtier. And his family had been courtiers for a couple of generations now. Courtier. Okay, I'll stop doing it after that.
I love it. I love courtier.
A courtier basically means someone who works for the royal family, which is why I had that bougie accent. So they're not exactly royalty, but physically they are really close proximity to the king on like a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. They're buddies. A courtier is basically someone, is a professional king buddy or queen buddy.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
So her mom was a lady named Maude Green. And so after Thomas Parr and Maude Parr got married, both families rose in rank. So it wasn't a love match, but it was a successful marriage.
In fact, Maude Parr was one of the closest friends of the Queen. And that was a little old lady named Catherine of Aragon. Maybe you've heard of her?
Maybe you've heard of her.
Which is why when they had their first children, Maude and Thomas, that survived infancy in 1512, they named her Catherine.
So spoiler alert, if you don't know how this goes, Henry VIII's last wife is named after his first wife. And so do you know what I call that?
What?
It's the circle of lives.
Oh my God, no. Oh, jeez. It's genius. It's genius. It is the circle of lives.
It is.
Since both of Catherine's parents were super career-minded, she wouldn't have seen them every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Her parents mostly lived in London, but if the court was on the move, they had to be on the move as well. So Catherine and her one younger brother and one younger sister were likely raised by nannies or relatives in a house that Maude inherited in London. So Catherine would have been a city girl, primarily.
So Mama Maude was a generally hands-on mother. So she probably popped into the London house like once a week, a couple times a week or something. I mean, her boss was Catherine of Aragon. Her boss and best friend was Catherine of Aragon. So I'm sure if she was like, hey, I want to go see my kids, Catherine wouldn't have been like, absolutely not. You know, like.
Yeah, she was. Mm-hmm.
Their dad, on the other hand, they saw way less frequently. Like they probably didn't have a close relationship with Thomas Parr because he was like a right-hand man, like a everyday person working for Henry VIII. And that guy was needy as fuck. So
that is the understatement of understatements in history.
Yeah.
So we can't say that Thomas Parr neglected his family, but Catherine just probably didn't see him anywhere as often as maybe she saw her mom.
Even though she wasn't close to her dad, probably, and she had those two siblings, and they were all born in really close succession. Like they're only like 2 or 3 years apart or something, all three of them. So that was her sister Anne and then her brother William. And mom and dad, even if they weren't in love, they definitely found time to share a bed because they were babies on babies, or they would have been babies on babies on babies if Thomas Parr hadn't died kind of suddenly, kind of young.
Yeah. So like Katie mentioned, Thomas Parr ends up dying, but he caught the sweating sickness and
That
ended up
fucking
dying.
sweating sickness.
I know. It's just like all of a sudden you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, I feel great. Let's go out for a walk. And then you just start sweating balls. And then by nighttime,
You're dead.
You're dead.
You're dead.
Like, it's absolutely terrible. So it was quick. It was very
Yeah.
fast is what I'm getting at. And this would have been a real shock to the entire family. And she would have only been like 5 years old at the time.
Yeah. After Dad's death, after like a respectable amount of time, people would have expected Maude Parr to get married again pretty quickly, like within a year or so. I mean, she was probably either in her very early 30s or late 20s, and she had 3 kids to raise. So people thought, oh, she's going to want to remarry. She's going to want to have more kids. Like, she would have been considered a very eligible bachelorette, and her bestie is the Queen of England. So so she's gonna, if she wanted to remarry, she totally could have.
But Maude took a little less expected approach, although not uncommon that we haven't heard here before.
Yeah.
But she decided that she wasn't going to remarry after all, because this is like the most free a woman can get in this world at the time, is if you were a wealthy widow.
Right.
No one could make you remarry anyone. And if she wasn't married, no one could control the money and tell her what to do. Plus, she has her own money from her own family and from her husband, and already has 3 kids. So at this point, why complicate things? Why not stay single?
I love it because she's a career woman. She's working at court.
Yeah.
Maybe another husband would have allowed it, but if they just one day woke up and was like, I want my wife to stay home and take care of the kids now, she would have to. So
and he end up spending all of her money. Like, she doesn't know. It's a gamble for her to try to shack up with another guy because she doesn't know how he's going to control her. And then in her grief from, the death of her husband, Maude Parr ends up throwing herself into educating her own children, most specifically the educations of her daughters, which we love.
Maude sets it up to where these girls are getting like top-notch educations. Fucking nice. Like, good. I mean, she would have already been expected to do this for her son, but for the daughters, it could be like, if you get around to it. And she was like, no, these girls are going to know the world. They're going to know how this world works.
So Maude starts getting them into things like language, math, philosophy, how to manage a household. And of course, the typical girl things that they learned in the past, like sewing, playing music, art, etc.
Yeah, and Maude did such an amazing job setting her daughter's educations up that some of the other noble families would be like, well, can my daughter come learn with the Parr girls?
Right.
Yeah, so she kind of got this reputation as the person to talk to if you wanted to make sure your daughters or your kids in general were getting a good education. Good.
It's pretty fucking cool, though.
I think that's cool, yeah.
Yeah, and it appears Catherine Parr was really into the education, because you know how some kids wouldn't want to learn all this stuff. But Catherine Parr's like, oh, I am into it. She's really picking it up. She's a fast learner. She's smart. And she would end up carrying on this love of education later into life, too, which we'll get into eventually.
The next 10 or 12 years of Catherine's life is pretty uneventful. Her mom got a raise and was given her own suite of rooms at court. So it's totally possible that as she got older, she probably went and spent some time at her mom's place at court. She probably even met Henry VIII and Catherine of Aragon as a child, at some point living there, or at least visiting there.
Yep, probably also met the king's mistress, Anne Boleyn, too. Now, if you don't know anything about Tudor history, hold my beer. King Henry VIII had fallen in love with one of his ladies-in-waiting, a woman named Anne Boleyn. So he wanted to divorce his wife, filed for divorce to the Pope, but the Pope said nope.
Nope.
And it became this whole thing.
It was this whole thing. Yeah. And that is how England separated from the church.
In a blazing glory of musical theater.
Yes.
With the courtier.
With the courtiers. But the reason that's important in the life of Catherine Parr is because her mom stayed loyal to Catherine of Aragon. Maude Parr was never like, oh, I feel like the winds have changed. She was like, no, the queen is my bitch. I got her back. And she had a really good role model in her mother, I think is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, she did. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit. Clack. Catherine is a young, well-to-do lady, so of course it's time to talk marriage, y'all.
Catherine had pretty good prospects, so her mom wasn't like too stressed about finding her a husband. They didn't have like endless amounts of money. Even though Catherine was pretty, she wasn't like in the Catherine Howard episode or in the Agnes Sorrel episode where it's just like, bitch was fine.
All the men got boners when she walked in the room.
Yeah, that wasn't Catherine's aesthetic, and I think she was okay with that.
Yeah.
But she was pretty, and she was known to have charisma. She carried herself very she had a bit of a big dick energy. Okay, cool.
And you know what? That's hot.
Confidence is hot.
Yeah, and having that confidence to just own a room and being naturally charming and all of that, like, you can't really capture that in a photo.
Yeah.
And it is something that, like, makes somebody so much hotter.
For sure.
It's like, ooh, they can command a room. I don't know. For me personally, that's sexy.
It's like we talked about Elizabeth Taylor and Mike Todd. Like when guys were like, women don't like short men. It's like, all right, Elizabeth Taylor was the beautiful woman in the world and she married a man that was 5'5". If you give off confidence.
Yeah, it can go a long way.
Yes. Anyway, so let's get back to, where were we?
In 1529, when Catherine was 17, her mom had successfully arranged a marriage for Catherine. Did Catherine want to be married? Did Catherine like her husband to be? Was she consulted in any way, shape, or form?
Who fucking knows? But to the relief of everyone, her husband is only 4 years older than her. So,
thank God. Thank God. I can take a sigh of relief.
Let's meet him.
Okay. Edward Burrough was about 21 when he married the 17-year-old Catherine Parr. Edward was the son of a baron, so that meant one day Catherine would be a baroness. And since her dad didn't have any titles like that, this is a step up for the Parr family. And everyone agreed that this was a really good match.
However, this meant she had to go live on the Burrough estates, which were in Lincolnshire. And as we've mentioned, Catherine is a city girl, and Lincolnshire is in north. And it's just kind of like the further you get north back then, the more into the country you were, basically. Okay. And so she is headed down to the country, and super far from her family. I looked it up. When I try to figure out how long it would take someone to travel somewhere back then, I look on Google Maps and I look on how long it would take to ride your bike there, and then add some time because, they don't have roads, stuff like that. It's a 13-hour bike ride. So I have to imagine if you're only riding your horse for 4 or 5 hours a day, that's like a week or so to get there.
Yeah, not a fun time.
God, every time I'm stuck in economy flying for 10 hours and I hate my life, I have to remember, but how long would it have taken Catherine of Aragon to make this journey? Like a month on a boat? Okay, it's not so bad.
Yeah, right? I would honestly be a little bit annoyed. Her younger brother and sister actually got jobs at court, so they got to stay in London most of the time. So I'd be like, wait a second. So why am I the one that has to go get moved out to bumfuck nowhere? Yeah. And if that's how Catherine felt, we really have no idea, but that's how I would have at least felt.
I think so too, but they were like, oh, but you're going to have a title. I don't know. So, historical disclaimer. For a long, long time, there was a misconception that Catherine Parr's first husband was this old senile man, because there was an Edward Burrough in the family who was 50 years older than Catherine and had gone legally insane. He had his estates taken from him because he had lost his mind. However, that is this Edward Burrough's grandfather. And
because I had heard that. I think we were raised with the wrong info.
That her first husband was this old man, and but no, he was only a few years older than her. The records initially got the two Edwards confused, because her mother wouldn't have made her marry an old man,
Yeah, a senile old man. Yeah. So we can all rest assured that Catherine was not being sent away to some old, strange, creepy dude to this far away land. No. It was not quite so scary.
Yeah. And Catherine and her mom had a good relationship. So I do believe since Maude went out of her way to make sure her daughters were smart and stuff, I don't think she would then discount their emotional side too completely. So I think if she had been like, hey, Mom, I super do not want this marriage, I don't think it would have happened. So that's no facts, just vibes, but that's what I think. I think she was at least fine with it.
Yeah, I don't think her mother would have set her up that way. Like we've said, we don't know a whole lot about Catherine's first marriage, but we do know one thing. Her young husband, Edward, was still living at home with his dad. His dad was a baron and was super involved in local politics and the law. So his son was kind of under his wing and still learning a lot from his dad. So the young couple lived at home with his father.
Yeah, and that would have been normal, but we think Catherine would have much, much preferred they have their own place, because one thing that we do know about her father-in-law is that he was a hard ass, and he may have been abusive. He was definitely verbally abusive.
Don't love that.
Don't love that at all. So we don't really know much about the personality of her husband, but we do know that her father-in-law sucked.
And like we said, their family comes from a line of mental illness, right? So these extreme mood swings that we know that he had might have been more than just a bad mood. It might have been some sort of personality disorder or some sort of mood swing disorder. We'll never know, but it's totally possible that he suffered from like bipolar or some sort of mental illness that made him incredibly unpleasant. So that's, the nice way of putting it. He was an asshole.
Yeah, made him quite unpleasant. Because of that, like basically the whole family is like, they just do whatever he says. And so this would have been a shift for Catherine, who for the most part kind of wasn't used to, she hadn't been micromanaged like this in her life. And now she's got like this hard ass dude who doesn't seem to like anybody yelling at her all the time. So, ew.
Yeah, if there's any indication of how she liked her time in Lincolnshire, well, it's at no point did she ever look back and go, oh, I loved Lincolnshire.
Yes.
Like, no. But she did take one small thing away from her time as part of the Borough household, and it might be important.
Yes.
That thing is Protestantism.
Yes.
Yeah, Catherine was raised Catholic, just like everybody else
Everyone
before
was.
Henry VIII
Yeah.
decided to break. But the rise of Anne Boleyn had brought in the rise of a non-pope. No Pope Christianity. And the Borough household was super against the Pope.
So maybe it was like a coping mechanism. Like, oh, maybe if I get into this one thing that he is also into, he will be nice to me. But who knows? But from here on out, like she couldn't openly be anti-Catholic because this was a really tricky time to have opinions on religion one way or the other. But she definitely started to explore Protestantism under this household. And yeah, that would stick with her for the rest of her life. So put a pin in that.
And I think that's a good place for us to take a little break to go top off our drinks. So let's go hear a word from our sponsors and we'll be right back.
Be right back, bitches. Are you okay?
Oh, yeah, I'm fine. Just that time of the month.
Excuse me, what?
Time to pay my phone bill. And let me tell you, these charges are painful.
Okay, well, why don't you switch to Mint Mobile?
Mint what now?
Mint Mobile has premium wireless plans that start at just $15 a month.
Oh, $15 a month? That's a steal.
Yep. Say bye-bye to those pain in the you-know-what monthly bills and unexpected overages. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you. All their plans come with high-speed data, unlimited talk and text, and you get to use your own phone with your own phone number, bring all your contacts, just like before.
No more surprises in that time of the month. I love it. Shop data plans at mintmobile.com/queens. That's mintmobile.com/queens.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month 5 gigabit plan required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Then full price plans, options available after that.
See Mint Mobile for details.
Hey Queens, it is Katie from Queens Podcast, and if you are a longtime listener to this show, you know I have Wanderlust, and I bet a lot of you do too. I have a trip coming up in just a month or so to London, and guess what? I am treating myself to first class. No, not a first class flight. The podcast isn't doing that well yet. I mean a first class quality suitcase from Quince. Without breaking the bank, of course. Quince offers high-quality travel essentials at prices that make you feel like you've already started your vacation. I'm talking about lightweight European linen styles starting at just $30, washable silk tops, and, of course, lounge sets because, I mean, why not look good when I'm lounging around in the hotel? Am I right? But it's not just about clothes. Quince also has premium luggage options, stylish totes, carry-on bags. Treat yourself, honey. These are all going to look awesome without breaking the bank. So how do they do it? How do they keep me in style without maxing out my credit cards? Quince partners directly with top factories. They cut the cost of the middleman and they pass the savings on to us. And here's what I love the most. They only work with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices. For my upcoming trip, like I said, I am upgrading to Quince's stylish, durable suitcase. It's spacious, it's lightweight, and it's perfect for all of my travel needs. So for your next trip, why not treat yourself to a luxe upgrade you deserve from Quince? Head over to quince.com/queenspod for 365-day returns plus free shipping on your order. That's QUINCE.com/queenspod. Happy travels! And we are back. And sadly, we're killing off a character. Edward Burrough, we barely knew ya. Catherine becomes a widow for the first time when she's about 20. So Edward died in 1533. No idea how or why. But we know this puts Catherine in a tricky position.
Mm-hmm.
Catherine's mom had died a couple of years previously. Catherine she now doesn't have that safety net. She doesn't have any money and she doesn't have a home to go back to now.
Ruh-roh. Now, if she and Edward had any kids, the Burrows would have been obligated to keep her around. But father-in-law hard ass over here was like, you gotta get the fuck out. But she's like, to where?
Where do I go? Yeah. Her siblings were both working at court, but they were busy with their own lives. Like, the court was not hiring young widows with no work experience, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, like, she probably reached out to them, be like, you got to hook up with a job. And they were like, girl, no, sorry. Like, what else is she supposed to do?
Now, we don't know where she went after getting kicked out of her husband's house, but we have a guess.
Right. The Burrow family had a distant cousin, which I think was also Catherine's distant cousin because...
everyone's related.
Everyone. But they had a distant cousin named Catherine Neville. And she was also a widow, but she had inheritances and she, like, managed a couple of castles. Yeah, she knew that there was, like, this widow and, oh, maybe I know an old man that needs a wife. Maybe I can help you out.
That is a job I don't want. Let me shack this 20-year-old with a 50-year-old.
Yeah.
The educated guess is that when Catherine Neville heard that Edward Burrough died and his young, well-educated and charismatic widow was being tossed out on her ass, she was like, hey, why don't you come over here, stay with me for a little while, and we'll see if we can't find you a rich husband.
Now, if the name Neville sounds familiar to you, it's because of the Wars of the Roses era, or it might be in our Wars of the Roses era. Nevilles are fucking everywhere.
Yep.
But most prominently, the Earl of Warwick, called the Kingmaker, which we call War Dick, he was Richard Neville. So that's not super relevant, but it's just to paint the picture that the Nevilles are an old, well-connected family.
Yeah.
Yeah. If this is how that played out with a really well-connected cousin being like, hey, I feel bad for you, come stay at my castle, she would have been like, oh, thank God. Thank God.
Same.
Yeah.
We discussed how when Catherine's mom became a widow, she was in a great position to not have to remarry. But that was very much not poor baby Catherine's situation.
No.
She had to remarry.
Absolutely.
That was really the only viable option for her.
Yeah, so she would have probably been pretty stoked when, not long after her first husband's death, she met John Neville, Baron Latimer. So he was looking for a wife to help him raise his kids. He had 2 kids, one that was like 8, one that was like 12 or something. He was like, I don't need a wife with a dowry. I've kind of already got money, but I need a wife that's going to be okay. Basically stepping into full-time motherhood is kind of where he was coming from. And he was like, I need the wife to be okay with that. I need her to have a spotless reputation and come from a good family. I kind of not worried about a dowry. And so that fits Catherine perfectly. Like, she's like, hey,
right over here.
Yeah.
We aren't sure when Catherine and John Neville were married, but it was probably within 4 to 6 months of her first husband's death, which seems a little quick to us.
Yes.
But this wouldn't have really been a scandal back then.
Mm-hmm.
If she had a large inheritance from her first husband, or if she was like a queen getting married, that if they got married that fast, it would have been looked down on. But for Catherine, everyone would have been like, well, what else do you expect her to do? She doesn't have a home. She doesn't have anywhere to stay. She doesn't have any money. So
she's just a burden, basically, until she gets married again. And so, this would not have been a scandal. She had been married to her first husband for 20 years, and they had a bunch of kids, and she had all these lands to live on. People would have been like, well, that was a little fast. But since it was...
Or, if you were like the king and you just decided to have a secret wedding with your mistress and then pretend that you're divorced from your wife. Yeah, it's not like that.
Like, that would have been a scandal if somebody were to ever do something as crazy as that. Yeah, absolutely. So why don't we meet husband number 2, Lord Latimer.
Oh.
So first off, he was twice her age. Yeah. She was around 21 and he was around 42. So not ideal. But since we have seen 13-year-olds marrying 50-year-olds on this show, could be worse.
The bar is in hell.
Yes.
It seems that John Neville was all in all a nice husband, though.
Yeah.
He was heavily involved in local government, had money, in good standing with the king, and he definitely had expectations of Catherine since she was the new lady of the house.
Lady Latimer.
Lady Latimer. Oh, that sounds like a Bridgerton name, doesn't it?
It does.
But it seems like they did have a pretty harmonious marriage, even though they weren't in love.
Yeah. So for the first time in her life, Catherine is now like a lady of the house. She's got these kids she's got to raise. She had a stepson named John, and then she had the stepdaughter named Margaret. So she has big girl responsibilities for the first time. And she was expected to hit the ground running. Like, there wasn't going to be any time for her to learn house management. She's supposed to come in and be mom and lady of the house immediately.
I still don't, for me personally, it's like, She's 21 and she's taking care of a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
They're only 7 years difference. She's almost the same age as this guy's son. Anyway.
Yeah. She was only 7 years older than the oldest kid she was taking care of.
A job she did end up taking very seriously and really got into, especially with her stepdaughter, Margaret. So from here on out, her and Margaret, she just called her daughter, not stepdaughter or anything like that. They loved each other. Mm-hmm. They actually had a very, very good relationship. So that's really nice.
That is really nice. The son was a different story. I wish I could find more. There wasn't a whole lot to go down a rabbit hole in, but the son I think was also mentally unwell. He grew up and went to prison for murder.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's not fun. Then outside of raising the kids, Catherine has a whole ass castle to run now.
Whole ass castle?
A whole ass castle.
You said that with your full accent.
They lived at Snape Castle.
Okay.
Professor Snape Castle, which has staff and people that lived on the nearby land. So now she's got to learn, how to manage stuff. And she learned a little bit from her mom, but I don't think to this level.
Right.
This is night and day difference from her first marriage. No one is yelling at her, and she's the one that's responsible. And she's the one that has the responsibility of a lot of people on her back. And it seems like all of this made her pretty happy. So she likes being a boss bitch, just like her mom.
I mean, but doesn't anybody like having a purpose? It kind of sounds like like her first place, it was just, she didn't do anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, side note, the Latimers, they own a house in London too. Not a castle like they live in up north, but they have a house in London. So I couldn't find anything to back this up, but I like to have it in my head that she got to go to London from time to time if they had a house there. So now she's also not as isolated too if they get to go back to her hometown from time to time.
Yeah, so everything was nice and peaceful in the world of Lady and Lord Latimer. until
Bum, bum, bum.
the pilgrimage of grace. I love how you have to say it so violently whenever it's like grace. It's like there's no grace in any of what is about to happen.
Oh, God. And we're not going to go deep into the Pilgrimage of Grace because that would be its own hour-long episode. I think we actually have. We have a Patreon episode on the Pilgrimage of Grace. Maybe we could run that on the main feed maybe sometime soon if anybody is interested.
Yeah.
If we don't get around to it, go find it. So huge oversimplification of the Pilgrimage of Grace.
When Henry VIII wanted to divorce his first wife, Catherine of Aragon, like we said, the Pope said no. So Henry said, fuck that. You can't tell me what to do. And he broke away from the Catholic Church. So in 1536, 2 years after Catherine married John Neville, Henry passed the Act for the Dissolution of the Monasteries. And this is when Henry was going to send his dudes all over the country and close down all the churches and then pocket all of their money.
Yeah, just like, oh, there's a lot of gold in here. That's mine now. Yeah. This was, as we have so scholarly said already on this episode, this was this whole thing.
Whole thing.
And for like a lot of reasons that we don't have time to go into. That was perfect time. Whole thing. Yes. People had big feelings about this. People were big mad. I mean, people would be big mad if we went and closed down churches now. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
And this is like their whole way of life, too. But in the north of England, where Catherine is now, people were much more conservative and Catholic than they might be in places like London.
Mm-hmm.
Your monastery is also kind of the center of your community, you know? So, like,
True.
It was more than just kind of like, oh, we got to go to a new kind of church now. It was truly uprooting these people's lives.
Yeah. So all across the north of England, one by one, these uprisings start popping up. And they raised army that at first way outnumbered the king's army.
I read the king sent like a 4,000 man army. And the Pilgrimage of Grace had 80,000 men.
Oh.
I mean, they're not like a well-trained militia. They're farmers with shovels and
pitchforks.
shit. Yeah. That's a lot more people.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah. In all likelihood, Catherine would have been stressed the fuck out from the get-go. Because it didn't become like this big revolution overnight. You know, it was like whisperings and little meetings here and there.
Yeah.
Remember, she's not a conservative Catholic. And she did good in school, so she paid attention to history. She was probably stressed out because we've talked about on this show too, probably about 200 years before this, there was the Peasants' Revolt in London. Whoo! She, as someone who studies history every damn day and is now living in a time where it makes, sometimes it's a curse to know history.
Yeah.
And you're just watching it going, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no.
Sounds familiar. Oh, wait.
Yeah, so just from the jump, this is all say, just from the jump, Catherine was probably a little stressed about the Pilgrimage of Grace.
Yeah. And then she starts hearing these stories about the rebels who are now going to all these castles and literally assaulting the wife and children of the lords of the houses. And they're like, hey, you have to agree to join our forces or else. So she's like sitting around going,
Or else.
fuck this.
Oh my God. In October 1536, that is exactly what happened to Snape Castle. The rebels surrounded the castle, and they were basically like, if Lord Latimer doesn't come join us and like be the head of our army, we are going to burn your castle to the ground.
Ooh.
So you got choices to make. Instead of trying to escape, because like there were stories of the wife trying to handle the crowd while the husband sneaks off. Instead of doing that, he was like, I'm just gonna go talk to them. And he does join them because he does not want them to burn down his house. He's taken prisoner. It's so weird to be taken prisoner, but then also be, okay, now lead this army. You know?
Right. It's so strange. And if you thought Catherine was stressed the fuck out before, it's a whole new level of anxiety right now. Her husband is now committing treason against the crown, and her stepkids are now held prisoner at Snape Castle because the rebels are afraid that she might, sneak out ye old back door.
Yeah. There's nothing to suggest that the rebels assaulted her during this time, which, thank God, but still, I'm stressed just reading about it. How do you think she was feeling?
I know. I am anxiety ridden. Now, how into this rebellion was her husband? like we said, he was made leader under duress after being held prisoner. So Catherine is hoping that when this all just blows over, the king will recognize that, he was forced into this.
Though John Latimer probably he was not. He was definitely also a Catholic conservative.
Mm-hmm.
So he definitely joined under duress. But yeah, the book that I'm reading is like, he joined under duress. After a couple months, he's like, you guys make some really good points. And so that probably also stressed Catherine out.
Right.
Like she's probably getting letters back from him being like, these guys are making sense. And she's like, oh, fuck. You're going to get your head cut off. Jesus.
Those are direct quotes. Again, we don't have a lot of time to go into all that went down. But the king did this fake pardon in December, and all the rebels went home for Christmas. So John ends up coming home, but he realizes just how seriously bad this looks for him. And he's like, oh, I think I might need to go to talk to the king. I know he pardoned us, but something seems a little bit off. The vibes just ain't vibing.
The vibes ain't vibing. No.
He heads on over to London.
But John didn't make it to London because word got out that he was skipping town. And the rebels are like, we don't need the whole Christmas break. We need to nip this in the bud. And so they attacked Snape Castle and took Catherine, her kids, and their entire staff as hostages.
Oh my God.
And they trashed the place. So can you just put yourself in her shoes, just watching all these fucking peasants coming into her house and just trashing it, just being like, oh, your husband's gonna switch sides? Look what we're, all in the name of God too. Look what we're gonna do. We're gonna intimidate some children. Like, what the?
It's so horrible. Oh my gosh, can you imagine? I would, because she's like, oh my God, husband, why are you doing this? Oh my God, you're going to get it. And then all of a sudden, everybody's turning on her. Oh my gosh.
They didn't hurt her as far as we can tell, though. But they did. So they didn't physically hurt her, but I'm sure mental scars. That's gonna stick with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Yes. So John rushes home and he is pissed,
big mad,
but he can't show it. So he's having to be like, oh, y'all trashed my castle and threatened my wife. No biggie. These things happen, guys. Calm down. It's all right.
Water under the bridge. No biggie. But John, at this point, moving forward, he has a major case of the ick for the rebels now. But he's having to play it cool, like they're still friends. But on the down low, he is just like, I am so sorry that I joined up with them. Like, what the fuck was I thinking? But he has to play it cool so they don't, burn his house down. But any remaining sympathy he did have for them was right out the window. He's like, fuck all y'all and your monasteries.
Oh. And Catherine had always been kind of like, fuck y'all and y'all's monasteries. But now she can be more open about it with her family. Yeah.
Right. Oh my gosh. That was so stressful, Nathan. I think I need to go take a shot in a Quaalude. Like, I really need to calm down. So why don't we? Yeah.
That's a blast to the past.
I know. Oh, anyway. So let's go top off our drinks and y'all listen to a couple words from our sponsors and we'll be right back.
That's your money saying it's time for a McDonald's run. Because with new McValue at McDonald's, you get more than you expect. Like buy a 6-piece McNuggets and add a McChicken for just $1. Your money says let's go. Get more than you expect with new McValue. Prices and participation may vary. Valid for item of equal or lesser value.
This episode is brought to you by Walmart. New beauty is in bloom at Walmart, and it's all about springtime radiance. From Drybar, Tula Skincare, and hundreds more available online, Walmart has the premium brands you want and this season's on-trend products for flawless, glossy hair and hydrated skin. Big name beauty brands? Check. The things you love? Check. Find trending spring beauty and all you need to look and feel gorgeous at Walmart, on app and online.
Okay, we are back.
And we're properly sedated, so we can talk about the end of the Pilgrimage of Grace.
Yes.
In which a lot of people got executed. However, John Neville, thankfully, was not one of them.
Yes.
He did go to prison and sit in a cell in the Tower of London for about 8 months, so it wasn't super great.
That's so stressful. And like, we have to remember, this is, Henry VIII is fully, like, in his head chop era.
Yeah.
So, and he was kind of executing people sometimes on a whim. Like poor Margaret Pole sat in prison for like months and months and months. And just one day it was like, we are here to kill you today.
Ugh.
So that is, it's not ideal is what we're getting at.
So Catherine did not have to live with the shame of being a quote-unquote traitor's widow. But good God, sitting around for 8 months just wondering, oh, am I going to get a letters today saying my husband's head's been cut off? Woo-hoo.
Again, not ideal. No.
No.
After all this, Catherine was like, I didn't like the Catholic conservatives when I first got here. Now I really don't like them. And I don't want to be here anymore.
Yeah, and John was like, yeah, I don't want to see these fucking treasonous peasants either. Yeah. I've got this house in London. Let's get the fuck out of the country. Let's move to London, baby.
London, baby. So this move to London, I just have to imagine it was like a breath of fresh air for Catherine. While it wasn't like cool to openly be a Protestant, there were more people talking about different progressive views, which would have been like her kind of like just like a breath of fresh air. I don't know how any other way to put it. And there were cultures and there were parties. And her brother and sister both worked at court. And she had friends that she grew up with that were still working there in London.
Yeah,
so,
she's happy. It's like she's happy again because she's with her squad, her group, her people. Yeah. The year is 1542, which makes Catherine about 30. And she's been living in, that country life since she was about 17. So to say that she was happy really is an understatement for this move because she's just living life again.
Yes. Once there, Catherine starts moving in circles with some pretty important people. Firstly, her and the eldest daughter of the king, Princess Mary Tudor, maybe you've heard of her, they become close friends. Remember, their moms had been best friends, and their moms are both gone now. It would have been like a piece of your childhood almost, kind of. And so they became besties, and I love that.
Side note, super interesting, because a lot of people like to paint these two women, as being fanatical about their religions. Mary being Catholic, Catherine being Protestant. But I think the fact that they were so close and friendly shows us that they're capable of looking past those things if it's someone that they love.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting and gives both of them just a nuance to their personalities.
Yeah, because especially Mary has been painted out as being this crazy, chopping everybody's head off. Well, Bloody Mary is her name. And it's like, actually, she may have not had that much hostility towards Protestants.
It kind of also seems during this time, her first few months in London, she starts a very innocent flirtation with this guy named Thomas Seymour.
That name sounds familiar, that last name.
Yes. When I say like an innocent, like flirting was part of court life. So I really don't think there was anything adulterous going on with this. But Thomas Seymour was one of the most eligible bachelors in town and a ladies' man. This man was getting it. He doesn't have recorded any like illegitimate children or anything, but this guy fucked. In the end, he doesn't like his reputation throughout history. He wasn't like always a great guy, but pretend we don't know that yet. And right now it's just harmless flirting with a cute guy at court while her old man husband, is off doing his own thing. Like, what's the problem?
Yeah. Okay, but what was her husband doing while she was flirting?
Yeah.
He was running his ass off trying to please the king, which was not an easy task. Henry forgives, but he doesn't forget.
Does he really even forgive, though?
No, he doesn't. He doesn't do either of those. But he is working poor Lord Latimer to the bone, making him go back and forth from the Scottish border back to London all the damn time. And y'all, that is not just a long journey back then. That's a long journey today.
He's tired and he's older. I mean, let's see, if he was 40, so he's in his like 50s now.
He's not a spring chicken anymore.
He's not a spring chicken. And like, we also have to remember that 50 now, our lives are much easier.
Yeah.
You age a lot. Because 50 then, even as somebody with a full staff, with servants and stuff, your life is just harder. He's running around and it just hits his health. And in early 1543, it becomes obvious that his health is on the decline and he's not going to be around much longer. And Catherine is by his side when he passes away in March 1543.
Surely Catherine mourned the death of Lord Latimer, as they did have a good relationship, but she never was truly in love with him.
Yeah, and he did leave her some money and some land. So if she hadn't wanted to remarry, she was kind of now in the case where her mom had been.
Mm-hmm.
But after his death, she and Thomas Seymour's cute little flirtation turned into something much, much more serious.
Ooh, our girl is in love. And this is for like the first time.
Yeah.
And we said Thomas's reputation, not stellar. It does seem, though, that he was actually in love with her, too. Some people say that it's just because she was like this wealthy widow, but y'all, she really wasn't that wealthy. There were other widows out there that were much, much wealthier. And the two of these folks made plans to get married as soon as, the appropriate time had passed.
Right. And since we know she becomes Queen of England, it's like, okay, well, what happened to those plans then? Around the same time as John's death, King Henry VIII told his team that he wanted to get married again. He's been married 5 times. He wanted a companion, and he wanted to at least try for another child. He had a son and heir. Revisit our Jane Seymour episode to learn more about that. And then he had 2 daughters, but what's the saying? Heir and a spare. So he's like, I want to at least try for another boy.
It had been a little over a year since he had been married. Revisit our Catherine Howard episode to learn that fiasco. And hey, funnily enough, once you cut off 2 of your wives' heads, the ladies not necessarily lining up around the block to marry you.
Also, dude had not been this handsome prince, this golden boy that everybody loved for a long time now. He is sick. He is in bad shape, mentally and physically. And he's got this gross sore on his leg that won't heal, and it stinks.
Stanky leg.
It's a stanky leg, yeah.
Ooh. And it's not just his physical that made him not great husband material. Like Katie said, his mental was on the decline. He's straight paranoid. He's acting like a tyrant. He is chopping off heads for someone just looking at him the wrong way.
Right.
The French ambassador writes home that he was greedy and paranoid and that he wanted to, quote unquote, make himself rich by impoverishing his own people.
That doesn't sound like anybody we know.
No, not at all. Doesn't sound like that's happening currently.
If I understood what my 401k did, I would be so much more stressed. Like if I even had the basics understanding of what my 401k was for, I would be so much more stressed out right now. But anyway, so he wants a bride. And since absolutely no foreign royal family is going to be sending him one, he has to marry someone at his own court.
So he told his dudes, I want to marry again, but here's some conditions. I want a widow with a spotless reputation. She's got to be smart. I got to be able to talk to her. She's got to have a really good personality. Oh, God, he's got a long list. She needs to be able to entertain on my behalf when I'm out or I'm sick. She's got to get along with my kids, my friends, and she's got to know a thing or two about running a household. Now, go find her.
And we're not sure when his eye turned on Catherine Parr, but we know that soon after her husband's death, he started showing up at Mary's house every day. And if Catherine wasn't there, he'd be like, oh, come back tomorrow. And he started more often asking Mary, oh, where's Lady Latimer? Is Lady Latimer going to be there? Because some people say that she was a lady in waiting to Mary Tudor. But I think it's kind of been discovered more recently that no, she was at no point like a lady in waiting. She was just a friend that was around. Just him being like, where's that friend of yours? When's she coming back? Yeah.
And he's starting to realize, wait a second, this Catherine Parr chick, she ticks all the boxes that I'm looking for. She's smart. She had an old sick husband before. She gets along with my daughter, Mary. Her reputation, spotless. And she's pretty without being so pretty that she's gonna get into trouble. Catherine Howard.
Exactly. And I guess he just overlooked that. I mean, everybody would have assumed she couldn't have kids because she's been married twice. And both of them were kind of, I mean, the first marriage was only 4 years, but 4 years is enough to
have a baby.
Have several babies. I guess the, and will definitely give me another son was kind of low on the list because everyone would have assumed that she couldn't have kids. So we don't know all what went down, but at some point, Henry makes a gift to his daughter, Mary. He sends her some really, really expensive gowns. And then at the same time, he sends the same gift to one other person in her household. So they get them at the same time and they open them together. And of course, that only other person that got this gift of fashion was Catherine Parr.
Ooh, I want a gift of fashion.
From Henry VIII, though?
No, I take that back. I retract my statement. Negative. But around that time, Thomas Seymour was also given a new job. A new job in the Netherlands. You know, far, far, far away from London.
What a coincidence. That's so funny that it worked out that way. Yeah. And that's when Catherine Parr realized that she would not be marrying the man that she loved anytime soon. And she reluctantly realized that she would be the next Queen of England. Yay.
Yay. And I think that's where we're going to leave her today.
All right, guys. We will catch you next time. Cheers, bitches.
Cheers.
Hey everyone, it's Dan Souza from America's Test Kitchen. I'm super excited to let you all know that we're launching a new video podcast that takes you behind the scenes into the messy, imperfect, but riveting day-to-day life right here in our test kitchen. Not only do I get to talk to my colleagues about the latest taste test they attended.
I just came from a tasting of salted caramel apple pie bars and then roasted garlic, so I apologize.
Or about a recipe they're developing.
The thing about this recipe is it's a secret. The restaurateur refuses to tell people what her secret ingredients are.
We also chat with amazing guests from the culinary world and beyond.
The lamest joke I've ever said. I said to Marie Bamford.
Great.
It's definitely
great.
Thanks. Anna.
Make sure to subscribe to In the Test Kitchen so you don't miss an episode. You can watch In the Test Kitchen on YouTube and Spotify and listen to it wherever you get your podcasts. Can't wait to see you in the Test Kitchen.